On a seemingly ordinary Sunday afternoon in March 2018, the tranquil cathedral city of Salisbury, England, became the stage for a chilling act of international espionage reminiscent of Cold War spy novels. Sergei Skripal, a former Russian military intelligence officer turned double agent for the UK, and his daughter Yulia were found slumped on a bench in a public park, succumbing to an unknown affliction that left them barely conscious and fighting for their lives. Sergei had been living quietly in Salisbury after a high-profile spy swap between the United States and Russia in 2010. His past involvement with the UK's MI6 had not been forgotten, and it seemed that his previous actions had caught up with him in the most sinister way. As emergency services rushed to the scene, initially suspecting a drug overdose, the true nature of the attack quickly began to unfold, revealing a scenario far more alarming. Hospital staff were baffled as Sergei and Yulia displayed symptoms that were not consistent with any common illness. Their condition was deteriorating rapidly, and it was clear that this was no ordinary medical emergency. The investigation swiftly took on a national dimension, involving hundreds of counterterrorism police officers and experts in chemical warfare. It was soon discovered that the Skripals had been poisoned with a substance identified as Novichok, a powerful and lethal nerve agent developed by the Soviet Union during the Cold War. This rare chemical was not chosen at random. Its use pointed directly to state involvement and sent shockwaves through the international community. The quiet streets of Salisbury were transformed into a high-stakes crime scene. Public areas were cordoned off as military personnel in full hazmat suits descended upon the city, retracing the Skripals' movements in an attempt to decontaminate any affected areas. The sight of these otherworldly figures moving through their medieval city struck fear into the hearts of Salisbury's residents. The bench where Sergei and Yulia were found, the restaurant where they had dined, and the park where they had strolled. All these places now held the sinister imprint of an invisible killer. As the narrative unfolded, it became evident that the attack was not just an attempt to eliminate Sergei Skripal, but also a message to the world from Russia, signaling the lengths to which it would go to deal with traitors and enemies. The use of Novichok in a public space was a brazen act, showing disregard for collateral damage and international law. In the weeks that followed, the plot thickened. 2 Russian nationals were identified as suspects, caught on CCTV in the vicinity of the Skripals' home, and later, the same men appeared on Russian television, claiming they were just tourists visiting Salisbury Cathedral. Their unlikely story did little to quell the accusations from the UK government, which faced the daunting task of navigating a geopolitical minefield. The Salisbury incident left a lasting impact on international relations, resulting in a wave of diplomatic expulsions and a rekindling of tensions reminiscent of the darkest days of espionage and shadow warfare.